Dr. Rizzo, could you care to respond to the claim that e-cigarettes are safer than combustible cigarettes?
Yes, the quote about the United Kingdom's decision that 95% safer than tobacco, if you read the articles about how that decision was made, a group of experts got together for 2 days in Europe. Several of those experts admitted to be working for the vaping industry, and the European Respiratory Society, the Lancet editorial, and 14 professional societies in this country wrote letters to the United Kingdom saying they don't agree with that public health decision. And also in the United Kingdom, there's a much different aspect of e-cigarettes. They're controlled and regulated much more strictly than this country. The tobacco flavors are not there. So you really can't compare what happens in England to this country, and it really is faulty science that it was based on.
Right, so that was a bogus study. What's the nicotine levels that are allowed for nicotine e-cigarettes in UK versus in America?
I can get the exact number. I think 18 to 20 milligrams is the most that's recommended in an e-cigarette in England.
And here it's 59?
I believe you're correct, yes.
So roughly almost 3 times the amount of nicotine here in the U.S. in any nicotine e-cigarette pod compared to in Britain. Now, Mrs. Johnson, I want to ask you a couple questions. How old is your daughter now?
She's 18.
And when did she first start vaping?
After all this happened, she told us that she tried it the first time when she was a sophomore in high school, and that she had tried it on and off for about 18 months before she became ill.
And what devices had she been vaping?
She started using a Juul, and the vast majority of what she used was nicotine e-cigarette. She did try vaping THC as well, and used mostly nicotine in the weeks leading up to her illness.
Now, Mrs. Johnson, I presume, how is she doing now?
She's doing better. She's, adjusting to life as a college freshman. She's still out of breath, when she's got to walk quickly or far, and we'll just kind of see what the future holds for her.
So are you saying that there's some kind of permanent injury associated with what happened due to the vaping?
Unfortunately, with this being such a new thing, the doctors can't really make any promises that there won't be permanent damage, so we'll just continue to follow up with repeat CT scans of her lungs and see what that reveals as time goes on.
And how did she first begin vaping in high school?
She said that a friend offered it to her to try. They're passed around the bathrooms that's in the high schools, even the junior highs. I've got 2 sons in high school as well, and it's kind of common for the high schoolers to refer to the bathroom as the Juul room because that's what goes on in there most.
Now, 28% of high schoolers today are vaping, and 5% of middle schoolers are vaping. What do you say to parents who are concerned about their children getting hooked on e-cigarettes?
Well, I think that it's super important to keep the conversation open, and as parents, we have to ask questions, but the problem is that so many of us don't know what to look for, so I feel like it's also important that we work together with our schools to educate parents with what these devices actually look like, what the signs could be that your child is vaping, and to educate ourselves and our kids.
And you said mint flavor was one of the ones that got her hooked, correct?
Yeah, and after, and she's been super honest as this has all happened because she's terrified, and she's said, I'll never touch a vape again, but she said that mint was her favorite.
You were very close to losing your daughter, correct?
That's correct.
And before they correctly diagnosed what was happening, did you come up with the idea that it was the e-cigarettes, or how did they arrive at the question of asking about e-cigarettes?
Well, I think the timing really worked in our favor because there was just enough talk of what was going on and enough cases out there that it was on my radar. I had seen the news articles. Like I said, she was 100% honest, so she mentioned it to every doctor, but it wasn't until we got to the third doctor that it was really paid attention to. And I mean, I remember this night where she cried to her nurse saying, it hurts so bad, I can't take a deep breath. And the nurse reached out to the doctor, and he said that since he had admitted her, he was trying to reach out to other hospitals and doctors, and that was when, they had us wearing a mask at first thinking it was pneumonia, and that was when the masks came off, and they said, I think this is what we're dealing with.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson.